Nath actually taught me to swim when I was about 5 years old at La Maria when he was working like a Saturday job. It was just a lot of laughs, a lot of good memories from even just traveling to Guernsey, racing locally. The thing about the 50-meter pool is obviously training long course is a different kettle of fish. It's almost like, I don't know if you have athletics, the indoor outdoor switch, the wind is like, training long course is definitely better, it's definitely good. And all the big major meets apart from Island Games they're held long course. So if you can't swim long course and you don't really train long course, it is definitely putting you at a disadvantage. So it's my first big real international meet away from my parents, so definitely had a lot of nerves. At my final year in 2020, we managed to win our conference and we won quite decisively as well. I think we won by more than 100 points. So yeah, it was just a really special moment, I think, for the women's team to finally sort of get to the top and get where we wanted to be for the last 4 years. You're from tiny little Jersey and then suddenly you're eating in the dining hall with like world record holders and you're like, oh my god, you feel almost out of place. I don't know if I necessarily have a highlight, more of it being a great 15 years of competing, really.
Hello and welcome to a brand new Sportscast Jersey episode. Today we are joined by swimmer Gemma Atherley. How are you doing today, Gemma?
Yeah, good. Nice and sunny outside, so a good day. How are you?
Definitely. Yeah, good as well. Sun always helps. We'll go straight into the questions, and as always, my first question to any of my guests is: have you always been sporty since you were a young age, since you were growing up?
Absolutely not. I think there's definitely a differentiation between land sports and water sports. So when you're a kid and you're only learning to swim, I think only the land sports are available.
Yeah.
So I was bad. I tried ballet, tried some team sports. I don't have coordination on land. I'm very very bad. So it's a really good thing that swimming works out because I cannot play a single other sport.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, Talking about swimming, do you remember the first time obviously you must have been young, but first time you went into a pool, were you like a duck to water? Was it a natural thing for you?
No, my mum always tells a story about when my dad took us to Centre Parks and he threw me down a water slide and I refused to get in the water for the next 6 months. Um, so yeah, definitely not a natural at the start, but I think it's sort of built into it while I was learning to swim and then joining Tigers.
Yeah, definitely. Competitive swimming wise, obviously it would have started a bit later. Actually, let's go back to Tigers. How
Mm.
good was that growing up in that environment? Obviously, it's a lot of training, but how good was it to go there? Obviously, the social side of it as well. But how much did you enjoy Tigers growing up?
Yeah, I mean, Tigers is sort of the cornerstone, I guess, of swimming in Jersey. So I joined when I was about 8 years old, and obviously starting the junior development squad, swimming once, twice a week. And then as you get older, you sort of move up, but it's like a big group as well. So when you start, there's 30, 40, in your sort of group, and people drop off as you get older, but there's still like a good friendship group within that sort of early start because it is one of those sports that you do sort of start quite early. You have to start at age 8 or 9 if you really want to make a big thing of it.
Yeah, definitely. And how good have the coaches been over the year? Obviously, Nathan's the head. Like everyone knows Nathan, even if they don't
Yeah.
know the Tigers. But every coach there, how good have they been?
Yeah, I mean, so Nath actually taught me to swim when I was about 5 years old at La Maria when he was working like a Saturday job. So Nath's really been sort of, yeah, the biggest part of my swimming journey. And it's great to watch him go from like sort of junior coach, assistant coach to like really heading up a really, really successful program. Ashan also now coaches, and she's really developed the junior program from like, we got a trickle in from like Aqua Splash, La Maria, like different swim schools, but now they've set up a proper swim school at Tigers so kids can come in from age, I think, 2 all the way to 102 if they want to. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, amazing, amazing. Seems like a really good community as well to be involved in. Obviously, it's hard work being a swimmer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how how do you reflect on that, and how how hard has it been hard sometimes where some mornings you don't want to get up and go train, and
Yeah.
how have you got past that as well?
Yeah, I think there's definitely always that like, oh, it's 5:30, I do not want to go anywhere. Like my bed just feels so good. I could just turn my alarm off and get an extra 2.5 hours sleep. But I think especially when you're younger, there's a real like camaraderie. And when you go to train in the US and stuff like that, and you train in really competitive teams, there is that like not expectation, but like you don't want to let your teammates down as well. So like everyone's sort of in it together. And when you get up at 5:30 and you see the set on the board, and you're like, oh my God, I should have just stayed in bed. Everyone's in that same position. So it's yeah, it's definitely a team really pulls you through, I think.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's talk about competitive swimming. We'll come on to the Island Games, Commonwealth in a bit, but obviously locally there's galas and what have you. How much did you enjoy those events?
Yeah, it's one of those things when you're young, you get to go away with your friends. We all stayed in the hotel together. It's just a lot of laughs, a lot of good memories from even just traveling to Guernsey, racing locally, the local meets in the UK, like a lot of really good memories. I think it builds a lot of independence as well. You're off on your own age 12 for a weekend with your friends. So yeah, really enjoyed those.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And how about I remember going because my sister used to swim for Jersey Swimming Club and at
Mm.
Le Canave. How good were those home galas? And I remember the atmospheres are always really good, really hyped up. And how good were those home galas as well?
Yeah, I think there's always that. Well, it's a team. You also want to beat your teammates as well. You want to be that getting those medals, getting those island records. Yeah, and I think Kenave is a really good facility for that. There's space on poolside. You've got the stands. Parents can come and watch. So yeah, I think Kenave is a really good pool to have. Obviously, we'd like a 50-meter pool if we could, but Kenave compared to the standard of some other clubs' home pools, I think is a really great pool.
Yeah, definitely. Let's touch on that because I was talking about it at Government House with a few people. 50-meter pool. How important is it to get that, and why the swimmers want it so bad?
Yes, I think the thing about the 50-meter pool is obviously training long course is a different kettle of fish. It's almost like, I don't know if you have athletics, the indoor outdoor switch, the wind is like training long course is definitely better, it's definitely good. And all the big major meets apart from Island Games they're held long course. So if you can't swim long course and you don't really train long course, it is definitely putting you at a disadvantage. It also allows like what you can do is you can train long course sometimes, and you can move the boom and train short course other times. And it allows clubs to share pool time with the public, with other clubs. So when we had long course pools in the US, obviously you could have water polo playing in one half and then swimming at the same time.
Yeah,
So it really like sort of brings the swimming world into the community as well. Instead of us just training in like a home valley sort of off to the side, no one really knows about us. Yeah, really having that long course 50-meter pool would really bring swimming into the community.
yeah, definitely. And it's funny because when I asked Lucy Stevenson that question, she actually said there was no want for it or no need for it. But since talking the last few weeks, it sounds like there's a big need for it.
But I definitely think if we have the money, we can spend it. I think it would really benefit us, and we would have the option to host bigger competitions. Maybe more teams would want to come because we also have that advantage of being close to the UK and having those good transport links. So for a lot of teams in the UK, they drive in the car to meets. They never really get that sort of away meet feeling.
Yeah,
So we could really provide that in Jersey if we could get the facilities to do it.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's rewind a bit and uh, Bermuda Island Games was your first Island Games.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how were you nervous, excited going into it first of all?
Yeah, I mean, it was my first real big trip away. It's a long flight. My parents didn't go to that meet because it was expensive, long way to travel. So it was my first big, real international meet away from my parents. So definitely had a lot of nerves. But I think as being a junior on that team, there were a lot of really great seniors who are really supportive. And we had some really great relays. So I won my first Island Games medal there. But yeah, no, it was definitely a really one of those like experiences that sort of hooks you in. You're like, oh, I want to do this more.
Yeah, definitely. How old were you?
15, I think.
15
Yeah.
then. Yeah, amazing, amazing. Um, I wanna ask surrounding strokes and what is your speciality, and did you know from an early age what was your favorite and your best?
Yeah, so I some freestyle and backstroke is sort of it's one of those things I think people who do multiple events know that some seasons you have a really great season with one stroke and then other seasons you're like, why is that stroke not doing so good? And it comes and it goes. I'm definitely not a breaststroker. I knew that very early on. I'm not good at breaststroke, but the other three strokes, I like swimming. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. I want to touch on the home games before we move on to other stuff.
Mm.
How special is that to be a part of, and what are your standout memories of that games?
Yeah, I mean the home games in Jersey in 2015 was really like sort of a core memory for me. Like just having like all your friends, all your family able to support you. Kind of it was packed. It's just one of those like I don't know if you probably could have heard it on the live stream in Guernsey, but like it gets really really loud when you have a compact pool with you know
Yeah,
lots of people packed into it. Yeah, and I think yeah, it's one of those core memories that not everyone will get to experience. So really like privileged to have been able to do a home games.
yeah, definitely, definitely, brilliant. You went to America. How big a step was that for you in terms of obviously you did a degree alongside, but for the swimming side of things, and how big a
Mm.
step was that for you?
Yeah, I think people, going to uni anywhere is a big step, especially being from Jersey. You do have to completely detach and then start a life sort of as adult by yourself. So it's a big step for anyone. But going to the US, I think, was a big culture shock for me. Yeah, I I learned a lot of things about myself, and I learned a lot of things about like being resilient and overcoming challenges because you sort of do have to stand on your own 2 feet when you're so far away from home and you can't back out. There was quite a few times where in the first year where I was like, oh no, I should just go home. I should give up. But yeah, no, I'm really proud of myself for like sticking at it and doing it. And I think the training environment they have in the US really sets you up to succeed. It's all set up around your sport and your academic studies, whereas some unis in the UK it is just sort of thought as a side thing.
Yeah,
You do it in your own personal time, but in the US they really set it up for you to succeed at both, which I really enjoyed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How good is American swimming? Obviously, I know Harry Shaliman went over
Mm.
there, and other people have gone over there from Jersey. So, how good is that step for people who might be interested in doing it?
Yeah, I think it has to be a step that you want to take. A lot of people have gone out there and been like, oh, no, it's really not for me. But if you are ready to step up to the challenge, I think it is a really great place to go. The fact that you go from, it was by the end of our like year 13 at school, it was just sort of me and Harry and like one or two others still swimming. So to go from that, like having two, three, four people to having a team of 50 um, who all train together and all sort of the similar speed. You're all competing in training. There's relay spots available. It's competitive. And yeah, having that sort of training group, I think, is really important at that stage as well because a lot of people do drop out because of other pressures and having schoolwork, but having that core team of almost, I think there was about 53, 54 at my university.
Yeah,
So having those people all in the same boat, and then having people who are, your first year of your degree, but they're on the fourth year, so then they really support each other.
yeah,
So there's always that sort of not instant family, but like you know what I mean.
yeah,
Like it is sort of
yeah,
a family. Everyone is there to support each other. So
yeah. Amazing,
yeah,
amazing.
it is a good move.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like a good move from everyone that I've spoken to, and they've all really enjoyed it.
Mm,
Whatever sport they go for.
mm.
What were your highlights whilst over there? What are your standout moments in the pool?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of tough moments, but I think my university, the men's team were doing really well. They had been doing for a couple of years, but the girls' team was sort of struggling a little bit. We'd sort of come second, third in our conference for a couple of years. And then my final year in 2020, we managed to win our conference and we won quite decisively as well. I think we won by more than 100 points. So yeah, it was just a really special moment, I think, for the women's team to finally sort of get to the top and get where we wanted to be for the last 4 years.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You keep on mentioning struggling, not struggling, but struggling moments and harder moments. How I want to go back to how you were talking about you and Harry and a few others when there was only a small group of you and the others were dropping out. How determined were you to keep on pushing yourself, keep on swimming?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, probably between the age of like 8 and 14, 15, I wasn't very good, but I did love the sport. Um, so it's one of those things, it does take up so much of your life. If you're not really motivated to do it, it can really feel like a chore. So yeah, I know, and there's always been like swimming's one of those sports where it does consume so much of your life. And you know, when you get an injury, you get a niggle, it does almost feel like everything's over.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially when you know you're doing 20 hours a week and every week if you're not in the pool, you're losing 20 plus hours on everyone else, and you sort of feel like, oh no, like I'm going to be so far behind. But actually, I think when you do get back to it, you sort of make up that ground really, really quickly. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Amazing, amazing. Um, Going on to the next adventure, Commonwealth Games, obviously Australia and Birmingham you went to. Um, how good are those games to be involved in? Just how big are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like the way they set up the Commonwealth Games, you know, you're from tiny little Jersey and then suddenly you're eating in the dining hall with like world record holders and you're like, oh my God, you feel almost out of place, but not like you don't deserve to be there, but sort of like, yeah, just very out of place, like not really in that sort of environment very often. And the fact that we can go as a team jersey and, you know, we all stay in the same place, we all like interact, it's a really special atmosphere. And then especially in Australia, we went there and, you know, the stands have 10,000 people in, you know, you go from Jersey where you can maybe push it to get 200 people in there and it's
Yeah,
cramped to literally being able to be like, look up and like, I can't see the person that's up. You know,
yeah,
it's all just like, yeah, and it's really, really special atmosphere to be part of, especially like being there with teammates and it's like sort of people you've grown up with. Yeah, I think Harry did amazingly in Gold Coast, and then part of watching him, you know, some of those finals, I was like, you know, I really want to be there at some point. So that sort of motivates you to keep going to do the next one to get to that sort
yeah,
of level that you see other people at.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you did well in Birmingham, it's fair to say.
Yeah,
How was that experience and how were the races and how were you going into the races as well?
yeah, I think coming off of COVID, it was tough for everyone. So sort of knowing that you've put in the work. Birmingham was really special as well because we got to some relays. We got to some mixed relays. So yeah, it's always tough for a small island to field the whole team because you've got to have 4 men, 4 women, and to have 4 people at that level on either side is really quite tough because Jersey does set their qualifying times quite hard. You know, it's not just being the best in Jersey; you have to make the times as well. So yeah, for Lily and I to be able to swim mixed relays with the boys and walk out in a final sort of as a team was just really special. And being from Jersey, you know, like in the UK, like even the UK fans would cheer for us when we walked out, so that was pretty special.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. How good, obviously, Birmingham's the UK, but to go and compete in Australia, how amazing was that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more you can ask for really than your sport taking you to the other side of the world. And the things that you know sort of got to do while we were there, you know, we had time off, went to the zoos, got to hold the koalas, see a bit of like the beaches, just hang out. Yeah, it was just really, really special because I don't think there's many other ways to do that other than through such a high level competitive sport. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Right, going from Australia to Guernsey. Um, how How was last week? How was last week, and how how do you reflect on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously not as sunny and not as much wildlife as Australia. But overall, I think it was a really, really good week, especially for Team Jersey. We had, I think, quite a few medal expectations coming into it. Obviously, you don't want to say be like, oh, we think we're going to do really well, but we had a lot of juniors really, really step up on some team, and I think that's what really helped us sort of get to the top of the medal table. Wasn't necessarily the stars, the people we expected to do well, but it was the juniors really, really stepping up. And I think that experience for them, knowing that they can perform at a really high level and drop time and some PBs at these meets, I think will really spur them on to the next games.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What was your personal highlight over the week? Obviously, you got a few medals. But what was your highlight?
Yeah, I think the girls 4x100 freestyle relay was definitely one of my highlights. I found I think a second and a half faster than I'd ever split on a relay, which for me at this age I was really, really happy with. But it's also special for me because that was my first gold medal back in Bermuda 2013. So to sort of come full circle with a whole different group of girls being the oldest, and then really stepping up was probably really incredible. I think I put a little bit of pressure on them at the start of the season, being like, this is our chance. You've got to really knuckle down for this relay. But yeah, they all really, really pulled out the bag.
For the relays and obviously the younger swimmers coming through, how much have you took on the task to try and help them, try and teach them a few things and what have you?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of them are, they're 15, 16. They are almost, independent themselves, and they've been through the whole nationals, other competitions. But yeah, I mean, just being around, making sure that sometimes when you're in the finals, you're like, oh, you can get really, really like sort of in your head about some of the swims. But I think just being relaxed, making sure that we were having fun in the cool room. Yeah, no, I think yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Obviously you've come out and said you're retiring from swimming and that's your last games for sure and what have you. How hard has the decision been? Obviously, it's been, as you've been saying, a huge part of your life. So how hard has that decision been?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's always tough to let go of something that is so important to you. I think the last couple of months when I was in the tour, shoulders going, my back's hurting, I've slept funny, I fall down the stairs, I've twisted my ankles. I think it is probably partly led by the fact that like I don't think my body can do this for much longer. Um, but I'm not going to say I won't rule out swimming a relay in 2 years' time if because I do love the sport and I do love training. And I think I will stay in some of the masters group and sort of compete a little bit on the side. I think this is definitely my last one where I'll be aiming for like individual medals and individual sort of success. But I think I've always said this, like it is difficult to let go of. Um, and while I'm still able to, I might have another crack at it in a couple of years' time, depending. But you never know. You have to qualify. I think the way some of those girls swam last week, I might actually have a tough time qualifying.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely
yeah,
not willing to 100% let go of it, but 95% I think is time to move on with life.
yeah. That 5% is just bringing you back in, though. So you never say never.
Yeah.
What? Obviously, I just asked kind of how you help the younger ones, but what tips do you have for them? Maybe at those hard times where they might struggle to think, why am I doing this, or why am I waking up at this time? What are your tips to them?
Yeah. I mean, if you love the sport and you love competing, then keep at it. Like even if you're having a bad season, everyone has bad seasons where you're like, oh, I didn't get a PB in this event. I didn't qualify for the meet I wanted to qualify for. But a lot of times, if you work through that hump, you get over that little plateau. You'll come back and you'll swim like way way better than you expected. Sometimes it is just pushing through those hard times. and a lot of people around you will also be experiencing the same thing. So it's good to lean on your teammates, lean on your coaches. Yeah, people will always be around you to support you. You just have to sort of ask for that and let them know how you're feeling.
Yeah, good advice, good advice. One question I do want to ask before I go on to the last question. What has been your highlight moment for you in your over the years?
I don't know, it's really, really hard to pick one. I think every sort of major meet has had its highlights. Obviously, Guernsey is sort of like my biggest medal haul, but then Commonwealth competing at that, really high level. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily have a highlight, more of it being a great 15, 15 years of competing, really.
Yeah, good. Final kind of question before we finish up. Would you ever, once that 5% is definitely gone, would
Yeah.
you ever want to coach or stick in swimming that way in the future?
No, I'd always want to be around the sport, and I'd love to support the club in other ways. I don't know, admin, or maybe stepping up to work on maybe some of the Island Games Association or Commonwealth Games Association, doing a sort of more admin role. But I think there is definitely a type of personality that should be a coach, that really encourages kids, gets on really well with them, understands them. And I think Nathan and Sean do such a good job of that, and I could never really compete with the level and the great job that they do. And I think, yeah, so I probably will not be stepping into coaching just for that reason.
No, for sure, for sure. It's a hard job, and fair play to Nathan
Yeah.
doing it. Um, Thank you, Gemma. That's all my questions for you.
Yeah.
It's been great to reminisce about your career, and yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. Thank you. That was another episode of Sportscast Jersey. Thank you for watching or listening. Another episode is coming soon.